Good morning, everybody. Yes, another weekday morning from 8 to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So really glad that you've joined us here today because today we're going to work in a couple of different aspects of, actually what we've been talking about now for quite a while. Actually about what you've been doing forever, about how you grow, about how you deal with things, about how to adapt. Well, not so much as how to adapt on the outward side of it, but maybe more so on the inside of it. Actually going to talk about that one word that, well, it does appear, and it does appear and manifests itself in many different ways. So what is the word of the day? The word of the day is stress. Stress. Do we deal with stress on an ongoing basis? The absolute answer to that is yes, we do. We deal with it. How do we deal with it? Well, we got to deal with it in a positive manner, without a doubt, because if you let it get to you too much and it stops you, well, that's not good. But then again, what about the other side of it? What about stress where it starts you? What about those situations you wind up with? Oh my, how am I going to deal with this? What am I going to do? And then you go for a walk, you go for a run, you go meditate, you go and do whatever it is that you do, your quiet place to think. And then you take the stress of that situation and you turn it around, that challenge, and you take a look and you can now see the opportunity that comes with it. Well, that's stress too, but that's stress that doesn't force you to stick your head in the sand. That actually stress that forces you to take a good hard look at what the opportunity may be. So is stress good? Is stress bad? How do you manage the whole thing? Do you really need stress in your life? Well, I'm not going to answer that question, but today's guest is going to address that because that's the space that he's in, managing stress, dealing with stress. But then again, do we want to eliminate stress completely? That's the question I got over here. So who are we going to speak to today? We're going to speak to the man that has been a resource for me for many, many years. He's always showed up at the right time in the right place, taking situations and saying, okay, here's the actionable idea. Here's how you make it work. And here's how you do your thing in order for you to move forward. So I want to welcome today's guest is Striker Corbin. Striker, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good, good. You know, I was thinking about that. You really have appeared at the right time, at the right place in many different things.
I'm like a genie, right? You rub the lamp and I come out for you. What happens here?
That's exactly it. That's exactly, you just know. There's some people out there that just kind of know and just like, boom, boom, you're there. So again, thank you for joining us here today.
My pleasure, man. Happy.
So you've been dealing with the world, or you coaching, you're involved in that whole world of the industry, of stress, working with your clients in different groups, whether it be personal, one-on-one presentations or the larger presentations. What got you going in that direction?
Well, Brian, I thought, when I started my speaking business and I grew that into a coaching practice, and I used hypnosis to help people make relatively quick changes. Brian, I thought that most people predominantly would come to me for things like smoking, weight loss, things of that nature. But in the close to 20 years I've been doing this now, the overwhelming thing people come to me is stress, fear, anxieties, lack of self-confidence. And I've been teaching people how to deal with stress for years now. And look, hypnosis is good for that. The guided meditations I do with them definitely helps. But it's an interesting thing that people, we almost conditioned, especially in business, we think we have to live stress-filled lives, and we just don't. Stress, we talk about a pandemic that we're all going through right now. I'm telling you, the real pandemic is stress and fear. Not only are we not avoiding it, we're encouraging it, we're promoting it. Every time you turn around, people are telling you, watch out for this, be careful of that. I see kids these days, a lot of 22, 23, 24-year-olds, who are so stressed out of their minds as they're getting out of college and about to enter the real world because they have really, since I think it got worse after 9/11, lived lives where they're just overwhelmed with fears and worries and helicopter parents. And we really raised a whole generation of kids who a lot of them are unprepared to deal with, taking on the challenges that we're supposed to face, supposed to learn from.
Yeah, it has been interesting in that, and you're right. Talking 20 years. Actually, right. The span of your career has been after September 11th, and it's like, well, what if? That what if thing is just, it can be such a detriment, with the way we think. But it's always, the stress of going to take tests. What if I fail? What if I don't succeed in something? But then we took away stress, right? And I don't know if that was really, we didn't take away. We started managing it, I think, from in the school system by not keeping track of the scores. That was, in my opinion, that was quite the joke. I used to coach a soccer team. Like, oh, we're not going to keep track of the score. This way we're all out there playing. These kids knew the score. And so did the parents. We just didn't say it out loud, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I remember, my kids all played soccer. I don't remember ever playing where they didn't keep score or anything like that. But still, look, school, there's still stresses there. I mean, they maybe some districts stopped ranking kids in terms of valedictorian or you're number 10 or you're number 400. But the kids still had the stresses of, getting into the college they wanted, still had to do the best they could, still get those damn essays or homework assignments done on time. The stresses are always there. The problem is that most people don't understand how detrimental stress is for your overall well-being. If you're worried in this recent climate of getting sick or coming down with COVID or anything, the worst thing you can do for your immunity system is to suppress it by being stressed and fear-based. When you have stress and worries, you literally cause all sorts of chaos in your body. And you want to keep yourself. Look, I work with a lot of people in the spiritual vein who are very spiritual. They say things like there are no coincidences. They see things like everything happens for an intended positive purpose. But then as soon as they get faced with any sort of challenge or anything that kind of rocks their foundation, they go right to stress and fear and worry. So I've always been a kind of guy that tries to walk his talk. I realize that, for me, in order to stay healthy, which I don't get sick, it is about recognizing that, there's no real need for stress in our lives. We've been taught that we need stress. We've been taught it's a dog eat dog world. We've been taught you gotta, have that high thing. But I don't believe in that. I think that's one of the reasons I stay so healthy and I kind of live a really happy, productive, abundant life is because I've learned to deal with stress that comes into my life and how to kind of integrate it, learn from it, and move it along. You can't stay in that state of stress.
No, maybe we need to define stress here because I might be the other side of that one.
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, what's the other side? You when you're stressed, you're not creative, Brian. Your thoughts get locked. If you go with, I've seen people who are stressed and they can't find their glasses and they're looking all over. They get tunnel vision and the damn glasses are on the top of their head. I think you're using, you may be defining stress in the business world as a challenge or an opportunity. And I don't think that's a bad thing to get push yourself out. You're talking about something that pushes yourself out of your comfort zone.
Right. And that's exactly it. It is that because in order for us to grow, we need to be outside of our comfort zone. So I don't know. And I'm thinking that our definition of stress is being outside of your out of your comfort zone, doing something that you're not that confident about how to do it, and it's new, the rest of it. That causes stress, but it's not causing stress in a negative way. It's causing stress, where I see it, in a positive manner. Because, as you're saying, all those things you mentioned in the beginning over there, if somebody asks me, how do you become a better speaker? Well, you need to be comfortable with yourself on stage, Zoom, the rest of that. So the confidence factor certainly pushes into it. But in order to gain the confidence, you need to be uncomfortable. You need to push yourself. So
that's another aspect of stress, Brian, because most people, the average person, lets that stress keep them from their goals. Lets that stress keep them from trying new things. The devil we know is better than the devil we don't know. So they stay in these jobs that are sucking the life out of them. They stay in relationships that they know they can do better than. But it's the stress and the fears and the worries that kind of keep them locked in. And that's really, you're right. That's what I try to teach people is to push past those initial fears, those stressors. But too many of us, Brian, have our default setting is that we're living in stress. You can't can't be worried about this, worried about that constantly. That's not motivating. That's detrimental to your well-being and to your overall creativity. I know what you're saying is that, yes, you're talking about those challenges where, heck, if you got to give a presentation at work, there's going to be, I don't even know if that's stress. I think that's more of an anxiety where you're going to go up there and be nervous about presenting in front of an audience. And you learn from that. That's good. And again, if we're going to call that stress, and I'm not sure that I would label that stress.
I don't think you would actually, because that's where I think that, maybe I should be changing my words around, with it, maybe using the word anxiety or comfort zone, and that kind of thing, I think is still, within that, because it's that line that you cross where all of a sudden it's like, oh, if it goes bad, I don't want to take the chance. Oh,
Mhm.
that's not getting anybody anyplace.
Look, one of the things that you have to really learn about life and about stress is that we are here in these physical forms to be challenged. You're here to face those challenges. Nobody gets to put on a pair of skates and skate through life. That's not the purpose. That's not how you grow. That's not how you learn. But right from early ages on in school, we teach kids it's wrong to make mistakes. People are afraid to be embarrassed, afraid to take chances. And that's where we lose the ability to kind of learn from these challenges. Every one of us, your journey is going to be different from mine, but we're all going to face our own personal challenges. And when you learn that, when you try something and maybe you fail or you look stupid or you're embarrassed, the world doesn't open up and swallow you whole.
Right.
When you learn that it's okay to laugh at yourself, don't take yourself so seriously, Brian. When sometimes when I gave a presentation one time, I was really nervous. I don't remember what this group was, but they actually scheduled my presentation to take place like during the convention's happy hour. So people are mingling, drinking, and I'm addressing a few hundred people during a happy hour, and they're all kind of just having a good time, right?
Yeah.
And it was a tough audience to begin with. And I had, in those days, I was using a microphone, and it was a corded mic. It had a cord on it. It wasn't wireless. And in the presentation, I started off a little sketchy, a little scared. And I actually, Brian, I literally tripped myself in the cord. I almost fell on the stage. I went down like in a stumble. I didn't go all the way out, full body splat. But I got up and I said to myself, I said, oh my God, what kind of speaker is this guy? He's tripping himself in the mic, And the audience, they laughed. I guess they laughed at me, but they laughed with me.
Sure.
And it was my self-deprecating humor that connected me to them. And they paid attention to me. They said, this guy doesn't take himself too seriously. He's not going to be some talking head talking at us. And I ended up having one of my best presentations because I made that personal connection with the audience.
Yeah.
So it happens. You have to learn that when those mistakes come, Johnny Carson and some of the early hosts, some of the, I guess, comedians of today, Johnny Carson was a genius during the Tonight Show when a joke didn't go over well. He was able to turn it around. He's like, oh, that was a zinger, or, win the audience over. So I think that what we want to start to do is, again, my main point, Brian, is that most people are living with stress as their default setting. And I don't think that's a great state to, if you want to create great physical health, abundance, or really terrific relationships. We're too fear-based. We're too worried.
Right.
I'm all for what you're saying, presenting yourself with challenges. And recognizing that, look, we're all going to have fear, we're all going to have worry and stress, but what's that definition of courage, right? The definition of courage isn't that you don't have any fear, it's moving forward in the face of those fears.
Right. So I truly believe in taking on those different challenges in order to gain more confidence on the speaking side of things. And it's so funny. Now I know why you appear at the right time, right? So my story with that stage thing is that I'm involved with Toastmasters, as you know, and as everybody knows. So how do I become a better speaker? I figured, let me get on a comedy stage. So I did. First time on a comedy stage in front of a real audience, 150 people. So the guy in front of me is like 6'2", 3. He's got the microphone set up for that. I go over there. I'm on the underside of 5.5 foot tall. I get to the microphone. The microphone's all the way up, up here. I don't know how to lower it.
Oh no!
So I didn't trip over the mic, but I jumped up and it said hi, and I had him there. Completely lost my routine. The rest of this stuff, whatever I was going to say, did it, and it was successful. It was like 8 or 10 minutes doing that, but I knew going into that, and here's where I approach different things, because I do think you need to live outside that comfort zone, try things new. But I knew going into it was going to be a learning experience. I didn't realize how much.
Yeah.
But that's it. So isn't it more like the attitude that you bring to a situation that's stressful, more so than the situation itself once you're right there, and how you're going to approach it in the end, understanding that you're going to pick up things you did well, didn't do well, could improve on, the rest of that stuff, and look at it as a learning experience going into it to help manage that stress.
Well, that's true. That mindset is everything. It really is. When you, and again, stress is more easily managed when you have a self-confidence. When you look, one of the reasons I've been very fortunate in everything I've ever tried in life, because I've been very fortunate, because at my core belief, Brian, is that I can do anything I put my mind to. Mm-hmm. I really think I can do anything. I've done stand-up like you. That's a terrifying That's terrifying. I give a lot of credit to stand-up comedians. You can practice and memorize a song and sing that song beautifully, but every time you do a stand-up routine, every night there's a different audience. It goes different ways sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's tough. But I've learned that if you believe in yourself and you just kind of, take those chances, take those risks, in the end, you just do. You learn it. You're like a little kid that's learning how to walk. They fall, and then you know what? They get back up, and they fall again, and they get back up, and eventually you're walking. I remember the same thing when I was learning how to ride a bike, man. I was scared to death when he's like, how the hell does a bicycle stay up, right, Brian? You're a little kid, you're like, come on, man, Dad, hold on to the back seat. But then next thing you know, your dad's not holding on to the back seat, and you're doing along. You're like, oh crap. And now I can, you ride with no hands eventually. Like anything else, man. That's what it's all about. It's about taking those risks, like feeling alive.
Yeah.
But too many people, that's the sad thing. They let the stress keep them from having those exhilarating moments, which is sad, because we're also afraid of being embarrassed. We're all afraid of looking stupid. We're all afraid of making the wrong decision. But I always teach people, Brian, in life, as a spiritual person, as a guy that knows there literally are no coincidences. And also I ask people to take it that one step higher. There are no negatives. Everything that happens to you in your life gives you the opportunity to grow your level of self-love, your level of self-awareness. You don't have to take the opportunity, but you have the opportunity to learn your specialness, your uniqueness, that, like me, you always land on your feet. Or, you could probably think the things in your life, Brian, that you were dreading years ago and years ago and years ago. And in the end, most of them pretty much worked out.
Yeah.
And you have to learn from that.
They called me Mumbles in high school.
Is that right?
That's absolute truth.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's someplace somewhere. Well, maybe I was I was pre-Facebook. Back in school, back in all of school, actually.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that would have been out there someplace. But yeah, no, my nickname was Mumbles.
Oh, that's wild.
I didn't emote. I was shy and all the rest of that stuff. So
aren't kids wonderful? I mean, that's kids are wonderful. Well, that also stems from fear. Other kids not wanting to be the one who is ostracized or picked on, easily take that group mentality and go after an easy target sometimes.
Right.
So it all stems from fear. When we're afraid, when we're stressed, we're not our best selves. This is where I really encourage people to recognize, that a lot of their stress is illusory. Am I making up words? I'm not sure, Brian. It's an illusion.
But you're a professional speaker. You can make up words.
I can get away with that, right?
Right. So anytime you kind of like,
I just got to roll with it. Of course, it's a word.
I've got a microphone. It's a word.
It's a word.
The word is.
But
I mean, all of that stuff is self-created. And the issue, the reality of all of this is that you've got your own stories about, wow, that didn't work out terribly well, but you learn from it. I have mine. Everybody's got those stories, unless you're doing absolutely nothing and living in this little bubble where you don't take any chances, don't do anything different. You have no stress in that respect. You have no stress at all because you don't do anything. You don't try anything. I mean, and for our business owners, salespeople, if that's the world you live in, I don't know how you're successful. You have to be able to move forward in some respect. So that's where I think that stress is a key component. Define stress a little bit, or creating a little bit of anxiety, and going into stress, going into those situations where it's a learning experience. But that's the only way we're going to achieve success. But
is stress the motivator, Brian? Though, see, stress isn't the motivator. Stress is, I'm not doing it because I want to be stressed. I'm doing it because I want to improve myself, take chances, be better. Stress is the obstacle. Stress is the wall. Is the thing that keeps us from being better, keeps us from being funny when you do an open mic night. Stress isn't a motivator for us. The goal of, I want to make more money, I want to meet someone new, they're the thing. But now, and then stress comes in as a result of uncertainty, I'm not sure. And you learn that you can channel people can channel that stress into like a natural kind of energy that you learn to push through. And again, for you to get up there and do stand-up is, I applaud you for that, but that's a very small percentage of the population that will do that. Most people won't even get up and sing karaoke. Okay. Right. So again, it's the stress that keeps us from getting to the other side of our fears. It keeps people locked in. And, so I never really see stress as I don't say, I'm going to chase this because it stresses me. I want to do this because it stresses me. I know we get excited about things. We get excited about maybe doing karaoke and meeting someone new or something like that. But it's that stress that kind of determines if I'm going to go after my challenges or my things I want in life, or I'm going to stay. It's okay, whatever what I got. I don't know. And I find that too many people, I work with people, Brian, in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, and most people are really not living the life of their desires. They're just not. They're living autopilot lives,
Right.
And they're looking back with regret. And what's the regret? They let fear and worry, insecurities keep them on the shelf for way too long. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, and that's the thing. And that's why I always find, we have to do better at minimizing stress, because it really just doesn't matter in the end. It doesn't. It's not. It's we really want to kind of just have our best life. What's it? I've talked to people who have survived cancer. There's nothing more stressful than getting a cancer diagnosis.
Right.
But the people that survive those type of life-threatening illness or come through on the other side, they will tell you, the ones that survive, it says, I can't live life the same way again. I got to live. What's that old Tim McGraw song, right? Live like you are dying.
Right.
And people, you don't need stress. You need the energy of love. You need the energy of joy. You need the energy of excitement, adventure, chase love, chase joy. Don't go after stress. Oh, I want to stress myself. No one says I want to stress myself. Go after love. I want to find love. I want to find happiness. I want to find laughter. Those are much better emotions for your entire body, your entire well-being. Stress is just a derivative of fear. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about the outcome. And when you live in fear, man, that's when you're gonna get health issues. That's when you're gonna have monetary issues. That's when you're gonna muck up your relationships. So, live in joy, and joy can almost feel the same as stress. They have that same kind of
the adrenaline.
Yeah.
You get that adrenaline flowing, and that becomes it. Walking into something with knowing that it will be a learning opportunity, and make it work that way. So it does start in how you're approaching something, not the something. It's how you're approaching it internally, mm-hmm. whatever that situation might be, about whatever the outcome you desire, the rest of it, knowing that no matter what, you're gonna be good on the whole thing.
Brian, no great in our society, no one who's super successful in our society ever got a guarantee that they were going to be successful. No one ever told the Wright brothers, Walt Disney. No one ever told Oprah Winfrey, oh, you're going to be, you're great. You got this. In fact, most people tell those people, I don't know, man. I don't know what you're doing. That's not going to work. You're embarrassing yourself. But greats in our society, the people that elevate what is possible for us, they hear those outside distractions and noises, and they push on, because they believe in their vision. They believe in what they're trying to do. They believe in themselves. And they're able to do things that everyone else said was virtually impossible. And I think that is a mindset. I think that, greats in our society, great entrepreneurs are visionaries who see what they want to get done in their mind first. Then they put it down in paper or pen, and they make their business plan, and then they build it. They turn it into physical reality. So it starts in the mind. It starts in what you see for yourself, what you want to build, what you want to create, and the ability to block out all the distractions around you. If people say that won't work, that can't happen, somebody else tried that. And then to really make it tangible, taking it from the mind, taking it tangible by putting pen to paper or on the computer, and then you build it. And that all starts with a belief that I can get this done. I can do this.
And you're right. Most of those people I mentioned, and they were all told and all have quote unquote failed, it's stuff that they've done. So it goes the other way. And what I've seen a lot also is that, folks that have really been through a bad period of time, all of a sudden become much more clear as to what they want to accomplish and what they need to accomplish. And I've always wondered why that is. Why is it that sometimes we need to be dragged through the dirt before we really become clear in our goals, clear in the direction that we should be, and be able to address everything? But maybe that's what it is that once you've gone through something that's bad and learned internally that you could make it happen, that you could succeed from it, that you could work through it, now so you got that confidence factor.
Exactly, Brian. You're exactly right. We can learn through joy. We can learn through happiness. We just don't. People say, I hope I don't get too high. God will smack me down. Like that's a God you want to worship, right? But people get knocked on your ass, Brian, and we're all going to get knocked on our ass at some point. Loss of a job, loss of a loved one, health scare. You're going to get knocked on your ass. And those are the moments in which you're willing to go try a new program, begin exercising, see a new speaker. That's when you're opened up to the opportunity to make your life changes. So yes, I do believe that there are no negatives, because every time you get knocked on your ass or you lose a job or something like that, it's the opportunities, almost like the universe is trying to kick you in a different direction. And when you recognize the fact, when you live your life with two core principles that three core principles I try to teach everyone. One, you have to embrace your uniqueness, Brian. There's never been anyone else like you. There never will be. And we got to stop comparing ourselves to other people simply because we're the same gender, we grew up in the same geographical location, or we went to the same high school. You got to stop comparing yourself to anyone else. There's never been anyone else like you. There never will be. And this journey, this life in this physical body is your journey, completely unique from anyone else's. Now, we are all one. The journeys are intertwined on some elementary levels, but on the whole, on a level, you are completely unique. Two, there are no coincidences. Not a single thing that happens in your day, your life, is a coincidence. You're going to be thinking about someone and they're going to text or email you a few days later. You're going to have a fender bender. You're going to stub your toe. No coincidences. Everything, the universe is helping you to find your best path for success and happiness. On that line, you are unique. Love yourself. Two, there are no coincidences. Three, there are no negatives. Not a single thing in this life is negative. We have perceived negatives, but it is in those negative moments, when you're on death's doorstep or you lost something, that you have the opportunity to learn how powerful you are, or learn from your mistakes, or to make physical health changes. Stop eating like crap. Stop sitting on the couch all day. You have the opportunity to do these things. And when you live your life with those three core principles, that there's never been else like you, there never will be, embrace this damn journey. There are no coincidences. And not a damn thing that's happening in this life is negative, because if you're a spiritual person like I am, you believe in eternity. You believe that you're an eternal energy source. And you recognize that this 80 years or so we get on this planet is an imperceptible dot on that timeline. I don't think people really understand the concept of eternity or infinity, but this is a little blip in the growth of your soul. So go live in this life as best you can. Go big or go home, Brian.
Right. That's exactly it. So we'll save the eternity conversation, for another day, but you are right. If you're approaching everything with that idea that nothing's negative, it's supposed to be there for whatever reason. And that reason ultimately, I think, is to grow and to learn from, then everything's good. Everything's good in some respect, and to make it work that way. So Striker, now I know why you show up at the right moments. You do a fine job, absolute fine job at that. You obviously have a website. We'll have those things, nowadays. But if people want to reach out to you, is the website the best way of doing it?
Yeah, sure. You can find out anything you want to know about me at strikercorbin.com. Pretty simple, straightforward. I also want to remind people that I do have a free app. If you use an Android device or an iPhone, go to your Google Play Store or the iPhone iTunes Store, and you download the Striker Corbin Motivational Hypnosis app. And you talk about a great way to minimize stress, Brian. On that app, I have free short self-hypnosis recordings. They're like guided meditations. Start off each morning by setting your intention. There's one about fear. There's one about becoming a money magnet. I got about between 10 and 15 free 8 to 10-minute recordings. You put that sucker on in the morning and you sit there and you quietly listen to my instructions about feeling powerful, feeling empowered, feeling happy. And I'm telling you, that's the way to set your mindset for taking on the day. So get the free app. It's 99% free. I do sell some longer recordings on there, but try all the free stuff. Take advantage of it. It starts off with a motivational quote of the day. So go to the Striker Corbin app, go to my website, or email me. Easiest way is strikercorbin@gmail.
Okay, we'll make sure we get all that up. Hey, Striker, thank you so much for joining us here. And you know what? Doing these things in the morning, hey, I get 30 minutes of rah-rah.
That's true. That's very smart. You're spot on there.
I tell you, I got this thing started. Part of it had to do with that. Is that, okay, I needed to do something in the morning that was big time positive. And honestly, I started doing this thing for me. People like, oh, how do you do that every day? I was like, you know what? It's the greatest thing in the world.
You're right. And you've always done really good positive things. You've been doing this a long time now, putting out positive. You've always been one of those guys with high energy, high vibe energy. So kudos to you, man. You're doing it right.
Appreciate it. It's all good. As you said, we're all intertwined in some way or another. So why not share what is good and let that eternity thing work its way through. So.
Yeah. Look, Brian, everyone has to learn that when you do well, I do well. We're all in this together, man. A rising tide lifts all boats. And if people are suffering, that affects us all. If people are doing well, it's this abundance mentality, Brian. And the more people learn that, the less stressed we're all going to be.
I'll keep doing my part. You keep doing your part.
Will do.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Thanks again for joining us here today.
Anytime, Brian.
So, it's the crux of everything. So maybe I should change that word around about you need stress in order to succeed. No, you do need to move yourself beyond that comfort zone. So you do need to take a look at that. But it's not really the stress of moving outside the comfort zone. It's the ability to grow once you're outside that comfort zone. So I may change my wording of that a little bit. And the idea that Stryker is brought up over here with those key principles, so important, so unbelievably important. And it is absolutely the foundation of everything. I get the question, how do I become a better speaker? Well, you need confidence to get on stage, whatever it might be. How do you become a better salesperson? Well, you need the confidence in you and the product because people see that. Even getting on a comedy stage, absolutely getting on a comedy stage, because it's all emotion, it's all presentation, it's all everything. You need to believe that you're going to deliver your punchline. You're going to deliver the storyline. You're going to be delivering your value to your audience properly to do that. But it all starts with you, absolutely eternally with you and that confidence side of things. And then there is no stress. There's just different ways that we deal with unknown situations. It's all really, really good. Find your thing. Hey, using Stryker's app, I think that's an absolute great idea to get your day started. It's a positive matter. Get that morning routine going. That really is that's an important factor in the whole thing. So if you want to reach out to Stryker, by all means do. He's got great stuff. These guys have been absolute terrific resource over the years that I've gotten to know him. Really wonderful. We'll put the links up for that one. And do what you do best with confidence as the foundation of the whole thing. Speak well, speak often.